All right, let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Chakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Message of the Most High to the Elite. Now, this is based off of an article Elder Yashwama sent me, which I come to find out that the brother Aishayar from North Carolina, the head of the North Carolina camp, actually sent it to him. And we're going to read the headline and read some of the article, because as we've been saying, you know, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemel Shai, these devils know something is up. You know, they know something is coming. They know that there's something out there more than just what meets the eye, you know. And this is why they've been so clandestine or so secretive in their, you know, in what they've been doing, is because they've been trying to hide the fact that the so-called UFOs, you know, that are out there are really the angels of the Most High, and that they're about to make, you know, an invasion, so to speak, upon the planet to take down the people that are in rulership, namely the Edomites and all these other nations that are in rulership with them. And they know that they see things, you know, they have them high-powered telescopes, so they see things, they see the chariots, they see different, as they call phenomena out there, but they keep it secret. But the thing about it is, these things are being more and more open. You know, they're starting to appear more and more in plain sight, to where it's not just one or two or three or four incidences in a remote area where they can go and speak to the people and tell them, look, you know, you better, you know, straighten up. Don't say nothing about what you're seeing, because now it's made evident in plain sight to a whole lot of people. The other day, after camp, the brother Zakar from the New York camp, he was walking his dog, and he filmed a whole, like a couple of chariots flying around, you know, right where he was at. You know, he was just seeing it, you know, as they were flying around right around him. He said, but nobody else saw them, and he caught it on camera. He actually filmed it, you know, which the chariots are showing themselves more and more. Now, what I want to do is I want to hit this scripture first, and then go to the article. This is Ezekiel 28:3. It says, behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. And remember, in the lesson yesterday, we went through Psalms 64th chapter, where it says that they accomplished a diligent search. So one thing about these devils is that they do investigate. You know, they do look to the earth, look at certain, whether it be archaeological, you know, whether it be, you know, underwater searches, you know, whether it be, you know, searching and looking up into the heavens. You know, they accomplish a diligent search. And that's why the scripture said that they're wiser than Daniel. You know, there is no secret that they can hide from thee, you know, because they've been not leaving any stone unturned, so to speak. All right. So with that being said, let's go to the article. And the name of the article is let's see. The name of the article is, this is dated June 17th, 2017. This is when this article was written, which was about a little more than 3 years ago. This is the headline: Message from God, warning, throws Western elites into absolute terror. Okay? And that brought to mind a couple of scriptures, and then I typed in the word terror, which we're going to get to a couple of those precepts. But I want to read some of this article and get to a particular point. Then hit some precepts, and then, you know, take it from there, you know, see how the Spirit leads us. So it says, by Sorcha Faal and as reported to her Western subscribers. It says a paradigm shifting report presented today to the Security Council, or SC, by the Federal Medical Biological Agency, FMBA, states that a message from God was recently relayed to the most powerful group of Western elites ever assembled, termed Bilderberg meetings. And consequently, I guess that's going to be the word for the day. If I'm not mistaken, I believe definitely the Bohemian Grove meeting did not happen this year. And I believe also the Bilderberg meeting did not happen this year. I could be wrong, but I believe that neither one of those happened. And I have a feeling that the reason why they're not happening is because they already have everything in place. There's no need for further meetings, I mean, as I'm looking at it right now, the plan at hand is this new world order, which is the microchip, this cashless society, the breakdown of society, the making people into perpetual slaves. So pretty much they got that in the bag, So that's why I believe that there was no meetings this year, because they know that that's whole shit that they had about the mask and the pandemic. They know it was all BS. So they could have still had their meetings, So if they didn't have their meetings, which I believe they didn't, why not? If they've been having these meetings since these groups were started. Well, the only conclusion I could come to is that they already have everything in place that they need, and they didn't need any further meetings. It's all about action now, and all they're waiting for is for the fall to really set in. For the going from the fall into the winter, and their vaccines being pushed out, mandated, and they'll be in the pocket, so to speak, on the left-hand side. So it goes on to say, it says, the importance of which, matter of fact, I'm going to read up above that again. Message from God was recently relayed to the most powerful group of Western elites ever assembled, termed the Bilderberg meeting, the importance of which was so terrifying to those who heard it, they instantly pledged their nation's total resources in order to stop what they know will be the end of their rule over earth. Now, with that being said, let's go to one precept first in the Apocrypha, which just came to mind. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, and start at 6. It says, then did I consider these things, and they were all made through me alone, which is dealing with the Most High, and through none other. By me also they shall be ended, and by none other, because the Most High has the ultimate say in everything. It says, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? So pretty much Ezra asked the same questions that the disciple asked Yahushua. One of the signs of that coming and of the end of the world. He said, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. And that was symbolic of Jacob being the one to bring down Esau eventually, which that's Yahushua coming back to yank Esau out of rulership. That's what we read Isaiah chapter 34 and Isaiah chapter 63, where it speaks about Yahushua coming and visiting Edom, the Edomites, because at the end, the very final rulers of these great empires that would be ruling would be the Edomites. And that's why they don't want to touch the term Edomite. They don't want to touch prophecy, because you could say what you want to say. You could go to different terminologies, theological terminologies, and your different extra Jesus and all that bullshit that you mesmerize people with. But when it comes to hitting them prophecies, you can't deny what the scriptures are saying in prophecy. So they know that the end of the world is here. They know that they are the Edomites, and they know that they're going down. So it says, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Yeah, because the kingdom that's coming is Yahushua's kingdom, which Yahushua is an Israelite of the tribe of Judah. And then the rest of the Israelites, which will be joint heirs with him, will be ruling also. That's why the apostles asked Yahushua, will thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? Because they thought it was coming back then. right? So, let's move on. So let's go from there to the book of Psalms, chapter 49, because one thing that these devils have is a lot of pride. Matter of fact, let's get that since that word came out of my mouth through the Spirit. Let's get that real quick. Let's go to the book of Obadiah, the first chapter, which is one chapter long, and the 3rd verse. It says, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee. So the pride of Esau's heart has deceived them, because they think that because they have all of this superpower, meaning the superpower of the earth, meaning, you know, having, you know, the military and the missiles and the different weaponry that they have, that has given them a mind to be proud. All right. It says the pride of thy heart has deceived thee. Why? Because they don't understand that this means their end. It says thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, because they did live in the mountains, because that is their habitation. That is who they are. You know, and at one time they were so cursed because they were the lowest of the low. You can read about that in Job, the 30th chapter, whose habitation is high, because when you look at the way that Esau lives, they live in what? Skyscrapers. And these skyscrapers are very high because it was a form for them to remember the caves. And it also was a prophecy so that we can know today who the Edomites are. That's another clue. It says, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? And this is what they're saying, who's going to bring me down to the ground? That's why the scriptures say in Revelation 13 that no one was able to make war with the beast, because they have things on lockdown. You know, they have the military might that was given to them by the Lord, which was their blessing through the sword. And that's what they've been doing. They've been exalting their sword through this technology and this weaponry that they have. It says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, because that is another clue of who this is speaking about, because Esau, going all the way back to the Greeks and the Romans and all them, they all carried the symbol of the eagle. And also the eagle is known as the highest flying bird and the most proud. And that's what Esau is all about. It says, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, when they send up their satellites and space stations and all that, that's them setting up their nests among the stars. It says, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. So when did this happen? Well, when they started their Apollo missions, or their different missions to the moon, as a answer to Sputnik, you know, and the Russians. And so-called by 1969 is when they so-called sent, you know, the Apollo space mission up, and they so-called landed on the moon, which they didn't land on the moon, but they do have satellites and the space station and stuff, you know, in that atmosphere. Okay, so let's go from there now to Psalms chapter 49. And with this technology and that pride that they have, you know, and seeing that they got pretty much the riches of the world, that has set their pride even higher. This is Psalms 49 and 11. It says their inward thought. What is their inward thought? Meaning the mind. Because it says that the inner thought of them, you know, is deep, and the heart is deep in Psalm 64. So it says their inward thought is that their houses continue forever. So although the writing is on the wall, you know, which that's going to be a part of this lesson, they still have that pride, because in their mind they're puffed up. That's why it says that the soul that is lifted up in them is not upright. So their soul is lifted up in them. It says their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. This is why when we read Isaiah the 34th chapter and Isaiah the 14th chapter and other chapters speaks about them not being able to establish any more cities anymore. Because once the wicked bears rule over the earth, what happens? You know, the people are in mourning. Everything is upside down. Everything suffers. Everything is deficient. Everything is lacking. You know, because the individual that's ruling is not fit to rule. But they were given the planet to rule because, you know, time and chance happeneth to all men. And there was a plan that the Most High had by these different empires ruling to bring the world governments to a close or to an end by the devil known as the Edomites, the so-called white men, beginning with the international bankers who are the Amalekites, the 48ers, you know, whatever you want to call them. The Ashkenazi, the Khazars, whatever. All right? So now let's go from there to the book of Isaiah, chapter 47 and verse 7. And it reads, "And thou hast said, I shall be a lady forever." So this is what they're saying. They're thinking in their mind that they're going to continue to rule, that they will never be taken down. You know, they've drunk their own Kool-Aid, seeing that they have the world in the palm of their hands, and they are and they have this superior weaponry. They think that no one is ever going to be able to bring them down. And that's why they have the slogan for the military, for the Air Force, is what? Nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force. So they're implying that not even the Most High can stop them. And that's what they said about the Titanic. Not even the Most High could sink the Titanic. And the Titanic sank. Whether they did it by shooting a submarine, a missile, or whatever the case is, or whatever, however it went down, it was the Heavenly Father overall that brought that down. All right? So it goes on to read. It says, "And thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it," because they didn't remember the latter end, which is what? Destruction. That's why the Lord said, "I have created the wicked for the day of wrath." So they didn't consider that their doings of being wicked would bring them to their end. We read in the scriptures, which they read them. It said, "The triumphing of the wicked is short, you know, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment." So they ain't not going to be ruling too much longer. It says, "Therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, and sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children," because they really believe in their heart of hearts that they're never going to go down. You know, but when certain things happen, they're shook. And that's what we're witnessing right now through this article. They're shook of the things that are coming to the earth. The scriptures say men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking at those things which are coming on the earth. So they seeing certain things and they're getting spooked. But they're trying to avoid it. They're trying to sidetrack it. Let's go. I got two more precepts, and then well, we'll go as long as the Spirit allows, and then I want to try to get back to the article, but whenever the Spirit is ready. All right, so let's go from there to Revelation chapter 18. Revelation 18 and 7. It says, "How much he hath glorified himself and lived deliciously, so much so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow." So they don't believe that they're going to see any sorrow. They really think that they're going to continue to rule forever. You know? And that's why the scripture say that thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall not rise again. All right, so now let's go from there to Deuteronomy 32, which what we're about to read is actually dealing with Israel back then, but we know that whatever curse befell the Israelites, you know, is going to turn around and fall upon Esau and the other nations, you know, because these curses are going to be reversed and put upon them. So this happened to Israel, but we could apply this to Esau also because this applies to them today. Deuteronomy 32 and 29. And it reads, "Oh, that they were wise." See, this was dealing with the Israelites that were worshiping the idols, and eventually the Lord kicked us out of that land. And then when we went into captivity under the other nations, Jake didn't consider that. But now this is applying to Esau. It says, oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end. See? And Esau did not consider his latter end. We even read about that in the book of Isaiah, the 47th chapter. They didn't lay it to their heart. They didn't put much stock or much thought into the wickedness that they were doing. Excuse me. Because the wickedness that they were doing was sweet in their mouth. And that's what we read Job, the 20th chapter, and it speaks about that. You know, that all of this stuff, all this wickedness is going to be turning inside of them. And they're going to vomit it back up because, you know, when there's wickedness on the earth, you know, it has to be rectified. It has to be turned right side up. You know, and we're witnessing right now the sentence, you know, we're like in the sentencing stages, you know, of this man's kingdom, where the Lord has given them their sentence and they're about to serve their time, you know. So wickedness has to be put down because the Lord promised that new heavens and a new earth, which would be set up in righteousness, would be set up. And that's talking about the same planet, you know, but under new management, under new rule. So now let's go from there to the book of Psalms 75 and 5. And it reads, "Lift not up your horn on high." Horn represents power. So it says, don't lift up your horn on high. Don't lift your power up on high. Speak not with a stiff neck. Don't be arrogant. Another one is in 1 Samuel. It speaks about not being arrogant, which these devils are. That's why the pride of their heart has deceived thee. And they are the most arrogant, the most proud. It says, for promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. But the Most High is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. So we're witnessing the putting down of one, which is who? Esau. And as we read more through the article, you're going to see that. Matter of fact, I want to read that last part again so you could, you know, so we can recap a little bit. It says, message from God was recently relayed to the most powerful group of Western elites ever assembled, termed the Bilderberg meetings, the importance of which was so terrifying to those who heard it, they instantly pledged their nation's total resources in order to stop what they know will be the end of their rule over Earth. That's right. You know, and then it goes into the history of the Bilderberg group. But I just want to get another point in there, you know, further down in the article. So now, let's go from there to Daniel chapter 4 and verse 17. All right. This is the book of Daniel chapter 4 verse 17. It says, this matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. So the Most High is letting them know that he's in authority on the earth. He's the one that's calling the shots. He's the one that's moving the chess pieces on the board. He's the one that's given, you know, the orders, the marching orders of what to do and what not to do. It says that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men. And we're witnessing the basest of men ruling over this society, which is or are the Edomites. They are the least among people. You know, they are the lowest of the low. You can't get no lower than Esau. The next step lower than Esau are animals. You know, and even animals are on a much higher level than Esau because they know their place. They know they have a purpose. Esau's only purpose is to create wickedness upon the earth. And they're going to be made an example of pretty soon. All right. So now Let's go from there to Ecclesiastes chapter 8. Read a couple of these precepts, then I want to get another point in that article, because there's a heavy point in there, which is funny because it happened in the Babylonian Empire, and it's happening today, the ancient Babylonian Empire, and it's happening today in the modern Babylonian Empire, which is America, Babylon the Great. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verse 6. It says, because to every purpose there is time and judgment. Therefore the misery of man is great upon him. So everything that we see on the planet has a purpose, has a time, and has a judgment. And we've went through the time, and now we're at the point that the judgment is, that they're being sentenced to their judgment. And the next step after that is them serving out their judgment. And the first part of their judgment is the destruction of their new world order by destroying America, Babylon the Great, by thermonuclear destructions, which the Lord is going to do, and the land of Israel, which the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahshua is going to cause it to be destroyed. And then after that, the elite from among these nations, beginning with the Edomites, will be marched right into slavery, hardcore slavery. So they're going to go from riches to rags, because they really belong in the rags. You know, that's where they belong. This is why the Rothschild's name was really the Bauer family. The Bauer family, or the word Bauer, or the name Bauer, means peasant. And that's exactly what they are. The Lord told Rebecca, and Isaac and Rebecca, that the elder shall serve the younger. So they were peasants from even before they were born, you know. But the point is that they're going to serve that sentence out. All right. It goes on to read, for he knoweth not that which shall be, for who can tell him when it shall be? There is no man that hath power over the spirit, meaning because you can't contain the human spirit. And even in that article, they were saying that when a sperm meets an egg, there's like a flash of light, you know, that happens when that magic happens, you know. And they said they've been hiding that, and we've been saying that when the sperm hits the egg, that's the spirit of the Lord coming into that egg, into that woman, because every sperm cell that hits the egg is going to eventually turn into what? Into a body. So that body has to have what? A spirit in order to live. So when the sperm hit the egg, that flash of light that they're seeing is the spirit entering into the sperm that becomes a body. Because all you have to do is look at a tadpole. Before a frog becomes a frog, they're tadpoles and many other animals, and you see the tadpole, it looks like a sperm, and it starts to grow and it starts to form, but it has a spirit in it. So that flash of light that they're seeing in a woman's stomach, once the sperm hits the egg, that flash of light is the spirit coming in there, because remember, the spirit is pure energy. It is a light. It's a pure energy. All right. It says, there is no man that hath power over the spirit to retain the spirit, neither hath he power in the day of death, and there is no discharge in that war. Neither shall wickedness deliver those that are given to it. Yeah, because when it's time to go, you got to go. Papa, when it's your time to go, you go. Inside joke. All right. And it goes on to say, all this have I seen and applied my heart unto every work that is done under the sun. There is a time wherein one man ruleth over another to his own hurt. And that's why now you had your fun. You enjoyed yourself. You lived deliciously. You reaped off the benefits and the backs of the slaves, whether it was the Southern Kingdom or the Northern Kingdom, whether it was the so-called Negroes, Latinos, whether it was the so-called Negroes, West Indians or Haitians, or whether it was the so-called Latinos or Native American Indians. You lived it up. But now it's your time to pay, because it says that there is one time where one man ruleth over another to his own hurt. Now let's go from there real quick to the book of Exodus. Exodus. Hold up for a second. Exodus chapter 21 and verse 16. And this is all written. The same Bible you have your president swearing on, you know, it's the same Bible that you have in your churches, you know, it's already there. This is what condemns you. This is the condemnation, this word to you. Exodus 21:16. And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. See? And that's still so. That's why it says there is a time where one man ruleth over another to his own hurt. So now your hurt is coming. And all the signs are there. All right, now let's go from there. Let's go back to this article, because I got a couple of precepts after that. Let's go back to this article, because there's a point, another point in here I want to get towards the end of the article, because you know they go into how the Bilderberg group was set up, and then how they set up something called CERN. And CERN is let's see, I mean, they did give the name, what it meant, but I don't know if it's actually in here. But you know, you brothers get a chance, you could look it up, what the word CERN means. But pretty much it says I believe the guy that set up that whole situation was Prince Bernard, if I'm not mistaken, because I read the article, but I can't really remember. But they had a mission, a plan. It says, upon the completion of this task mission in 1954, he founded the Bilderberg Group on 29 May, and whose Western elite attendees 7 months later on 9 December. So in 1954, the very first Bilderberg meeting happened on December 9th, agreed to form and finance the European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN, and adopt as its logo the 666 brand, known as the number of the beast. And when you look at CERN, that is a stylized 666. See, these devils know. It's only the ignorant out there that don't know. These devils know that they're the beast, they know that they're the devil. They know that what the mark of the beast is, you know? And that's what they chose that as their symbol. CERN, 666. And you know, like I said, you could read the article, or you have to, this is it. Message from God, warning throws Western elites into absolute terror. Okay, so now I want to go down to the bottom. You know, there's some stuff in there that, you know, it's a little questionable on certain things, but nevertheless, the part that I want to get to is at the end. It says, and to the message of God, this is the message that they were so terrified about. And to the message of God delivered to the Bilderberg Group barely a fortnight ago by CERN Director General Fabiola Gianotti, that caused such terror among these Western elite masters or master rulers, this report concludes was an image produced by the Large Hadron Collider, LHC, that formed a single word in the ancient Hebrew language, thakwal, that's pronounced as tekel, and basically means you have been weighed on the scales and been found deficient. And you can see it right there. That is the message that they were so concerned and terrified about. So the only other time that this happened in history was during the time of the Babylonian Empire, when Belshazzar, you know, got fresh, you know, and was sipping with his boys and their host, and he commanded for the vessels of the temple of the Lord to be brought to them so they could drink in them, and the handwriting came on the wall. And matter of fact, let's get that. Let's go to Daniel chapter 5 and verse 24. It says, then was the part, I'm starting at the 5th verse first. Daniel 5 and 5. In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand, and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace, and the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed. Yeah, they were merry and giddy and drunk, having a good time, eating, talking shit. And all of a sudden, when he saw that hand writing, his whole shit just dropped. He got terrified. So when these elites got this message, their hearts dropped. They were terrified. Right? It says the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him. Just like these devils are terrified, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote one against another. So he was in horrible fear, man. I wouldn't be surprised if he pissed on himself. You know? That's how scared he was. He was scared shitless. Woo! Now, let's jump down to the 24th verse. It says, then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written. Many, many tekel upharsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Many, the Most High, have numbered thy kingdom and finished it. So they come to an end, because all things must come to an end. The only thing that will not come to an end is the Most High, who is ancient of days, and Yahushua's kingdom, which is the kingdom, by default, the kingdom of Israel. Everything else comes to an end. Let's go real quick to, I think there was another precept that came to mind. I can't remember, but I'm gonna hit this one. This is the book of Job, chapter 14 and verse 5. It says, seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds, and he cannot pass. So the days are determined. So you have been weighed in the balance, and your kingdom has been finished. You're at your end. You can't go any further than what the Lord allowed you. He set up your time frame. He set up your boundaries. This is Job 21 and 21. I started at 21:19. The Most High layeth up his iniquity for his children, and that's why it says prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers. Why? Because they are their forefathers coming back in the reincarnation. He rewardeth him, and he shall know it. Yeah, because this was coming. They know that they got an ass whooping coming to them, but they've been trying to put it off, and that pride that they have, has made them to be fearless, intrepid. Look that word up. His eyes shall see his destruction, and he shall drink of the wrath of the Almighty. Yeah, because remember, you have satellites everywhere. You have signals everywhere. You have the internet everywhere. And you better believe that if these devils are in those bunkers, they have satellites and internet and monitors and stuff that they're watching the world, shortwave radios, whatever the case may be. And they're going to see the devastation that they didn't want, because they just wanted to scare the world into the new world order. They didn't actually want to tear shit up like that. They just wanted to tear up enough to scare the people to accept in the one world order. Like I believe that was Alice Bailey in the something of the hierarchy, that they were going to use the missiles just for the sake of scaring the people to accepting a one world government, therefore accepting peace, safety, and security. And when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them. So the Lord got them on all levels, man. If you go this way, the Lord got you. If you go that way, the Lord got you. If you try to go a different route, you're going to drop a dime on you. Inside joke. It says, his eyes shall see his destruction, and he shall drink of the wrath of the Almighty. Because remember, in Psalms the 75th chapter, it speaks about that the Most High, there's a cup in his hand, and the wine is red. It says, for what pleasure have he in his house after him, when the number of his months is cut off in the midst. So in the middle of everything, when you're about to sit down and finally You know how like when you cook a meal, and you know like when you cook a real good meal, it takes a long time, you know, because there's a lot of preparation. You know, like you could slap something together, but then those meals that are really good, it takes time. You got to sit there, you know, you got your prep, you chopping up your onions, you chopping up whatever, dicing this up, dicing that up, you know, doing whatever you got to do to put that meal together. And when you finally put that meal together after so many hours or whatever the case is, and you sit down and you got your fork in your hand and you dig your fork in, and just before you put it in your mouth, boom, destruction. That's what Esau's being likened to right now. You know, his kingdom, he's about to take that one bite of the New World Order, and the Lord's going to come and just snatch it right out of his mouth. Good riddance too. All right, now let's go back to Daniel chapter 5. And let's read that again. And then I'll read the article again, hit a couple more precepts, and then we can close out the lesson. Daniel chapter 5, verse 25. And this was the writing that was written, many tekel upharsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Many, the Most High has numbered thy kingdom and finished it. So your kingdom is finished. It's at an end. It's at a completion. You done gone full circle. You done ran your course. Now it's time for you to go down. Every empire had a beginning and every empire had an end. There was an end and there's a beginning. The ending of a thing is better than the beginning. Now you're at the end of your rulership, and it's going to be better for us when you go down. But it's not going to be so good for you, just like it was not so good for us in your beginnings. It says, Tekel, thou art weighed in the balance and are found wanting. Yeah, because you were lacking. Because you were given the world, but you didn't do the right thing with it. So you're lacking. And this is why the earth is all messed up like it is. And that's what the Lord says he's going to destroy them, which destroy the earth. And even the trees are going to rejoice when you go down. Ain't that something? It says, Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. Right. And back then this was dealing with the ancient Babylonian Empire. But we could use this as an example of the finishing of this devil's kingdom today, which is modern day Babylon, or Babylon the Great, or the daughter of Babylon, or the daughter of the Chaldeans, or Edom, or Bosra, or Assyria, or Nineveh, whatever, Sodom, Egypt, whatever other names will be put on this place. It's finished. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. It says, then commanded, then that night, he was put to death, by Darius the Mede, and the kingdom was translated to the Persians and the Medes. All right. So now let's go back and read this in the article. And like I said, I got a couple more precepts we'll read, and then Lord's will close out the lesson there. So it says, and to the message of the Most High, they say God here, delivered to the Bilderberg group barely a fortnight ago by CERN, Director General Fabiola Gianotti, that caused such terror among these Western elite master rulers. This report concludes was an image produced by the Large Hadron Collider, LHC, that formed a single word in the ancient Hebrew language, thaqal, that's pronounced as tickle, and basically means you have been weighed on the scales and found deficient. So you're finished, Esau. You are finished. And that's why eventually, let's read this real quick and then hit some of these other precepts. This is the book of Revelation 12, and it's going to go straight to the point. 12 and 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time. And that's why they're scrambling to put their so-called New World Order together. So now let's go from there to 2 Corinthians chapter 5, and let's read some of these precepts, because let's read the first part of this article real quick. because this is what was another part that caught my eye. At the very beginning says, message from God warning throws Western elites into absolute terror. Terror, baby, terror. 2 Corinthians 5:11, knowing therefore the terror of the Lord, we persuade men, but we are made manifest unto the Most High, and I trust also are made manifest in your consciences. So pretty much knowing the terror of the Lord, we persuade men, because we know these things are coming. We know the Lord is going to give this place a serious ass kicking. He's going to take Esau down and the other nations and 2/3 of Israel and America, and he's just going to take this world, the rulership of this world, down and set up new rulership, new management. All right, now let's go from there to Job chapter 18. Job 18 and wow. I start at 5. Yea, the light of the wicked shall be put out, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. The light shall be dark in his tabernacle, and his candle shall be put out with him. Yeah, the Illuminati, that candle, you know, that light, the light bearers, Luciferians, that shit's going to be put out. Lord's going to spit on that and put that shit out. The steps of his strength shall be straightened. Yeah. So the steps of his strength represent what? His power that he has is going to be straightened. It's not spelled like you spell straight ahead. It's a position of difficulty. So that strength, that raw power and strength that you have, you're going to be in a position of difficulty when the Lord comes back. And his own counsel shall cast him down. Yeah, because you're sitting down and talking about doing things to bring in this new world order that's going to bring your demise, because it's the Most High making you do these things. It says, for he is cast into a net by his own feet, because you're the ones building these things. The missiles that you built, that's your demise, man. These missiles that the Lord gave you the technology to build, that is your end, along with the lasers from the chariots. This is your end. This is the end. And he walketh upon a snare. So by you building these things and doing these things, you pretty much, it's like you walking on a snare that you laid. You laid the snare down to catch something, and you get caught in your own shit. Ain't that about a bitch? It says, the jinn shall take him by the heel, and the robber shall prevail against him. Who is the robber? Yahushai. Didn't I say I would come as a thief in the night? So Yahushai is coming to get you, man. He coming to take you down. Isaiah 63:1. Who is this that cometh with Edom from Edom with dyed garments? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the brightness of his glory. He coming to kick you in the ass, man. So you do what you got to do. But remember, there's payment. You got to pay. You wanted to play, now you got to pay. Dig it. It says, the snare is laid for him in the ground, and a trap for him in the way. Terrors shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet. Yeah, because you were at ease, you thinking that you had everything sewed up, and now all of a sudden monkey wrenches are thrown your way. You're like, oh shit. Now you're going to be scrambling. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let me see, there's a precept there for terrors. I just want to see where it leads me to. B, verse 11. Is that B? No, H, I'm sorry. H, verse 11. Okay, all right. It says, his strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side. So you're already prepared, man, for destruction. You are the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction. The son of perdition, the wicked. It shall devour the strength of his skin. Even the firstborn of death shall devour his strength. Who is the firstborn of death? Yahushai. He's going to devour your strength. You set up in power. He gave you the power as a blessing as when he was Isaac, and now he's coming to take it back. How about that? It says his confidence shall be rooted out of his tabernacle. Yeah, all that pride and confidence is going to be rooted out. And it shall bring him to the king of terrors. So it's going to bring you before Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. Oh, and boy, ooh, you got a lot to pay for, man. You got a lot to pay for. You're going to be shitting on yourself, man, when you see the king of terrors, man, coming to get you. It says, it shall dwell in his tabernacle, because it is none of his. Brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation, because your so-called New World Order is going to go up in smoke. Up in smoke, up in smoke. Inside joke. It says his roots shall be dried up beneath, because you're not going to be able to reestablish your tree again on the earth, because you're going from riches to rags into slavery, and afterwards total destruction, perdition. So long, arrivederci, sayonara, motherfucker. Excuse my medieval French. And above shall his branch be cut off. So you ain't going to be, read Isaiah the 14th chapter. You'll never again establish yourself as a nation upon this planet to rule anything. His remembrance shall perish from the earth. And this goes along with Job the 20th chapter. You know, it goes along with Isaiah the 14th chapter. It says, and he shall have no name in the street, because you're going down. Your name is going to be mud. You're not going to have a name in the street. People ain't going to be looking at the big bad white man anymore. They're going to look at him for who he really is, the Edomite and the devil that the Bible speaks of, the basis of men, the scum of the earth. It says, he shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world, because it's time for you to go down. You've ruled long enough, and now it's time for you to go down. It says, he shall neither have son nor nephew among the people, nor any remaining in his dwellings. They that come after him shall be astonished at his day, and they, as they that went before, were affrighted. Yeah, because you're going to be looking at this. Is this the man? You know, your children that's going to come up from you when you're in slavery, they're going to be looking at you, you mother, you know, but then they're going to remember themselves too. Man, you finished, man. You're done. That's why it says the triumphing of the wicked is short. Surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of him that knoweth not the Most High. You're going down, man. You got the instruction book. You can't follow the instruction book, and the Most High is about to judge you. Let me just write this down. Through 21. Okay. So now let's go from there to Job 20 and 25. That was actually one of the precepts. Job 20:25. It is drawn and cometh out of the body. That's dealing with the missiles. Yea, the glittering sword cometh out of his gall. Terrors are upon him. So you're going to be terrified, man. Not just that message is going to terrify you, but the actual action that's coming with that message is what's going to terrify you, man. Man, woo. Job 24 and 17. It says, for the morning is to them even as a shadow of death. If one know them, they are in the terrors of the shadow of death. And you are in the terrors of the shadow of death. Welcome to the terror dome. Job 27 and 30. It says, no, 27 and 20, my bad. It says, 27 and 20. Terrors take hold on him as waters. A tempest stealeth him away in the night. So it's going to be like rushing in of water. You're not going to be able to escape this terror that the Lord's going to bring upon you. Man. Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 23. Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 23. It says, for the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, power of hosts, shall make a consumption even determined in the midst of the land. Okay, that wasn't a verse, but that's a good one. Verse 33. As yet shall he remain at Nob that day. He shall shake his hand against the mount of the daughter. I'm sorry, that's 32. 33. Behold, the Lord of hosts, shall lop the bows with terror, and the high ones of stature shall be hewn down, and the haughty shall be humbled. And you're going to be humbled. You know, you're going to be humbled. You're going to be brought down low. You're going to be humbled, man. Oof. Woo. All right, back to Psalms. Almost done. Psalm 73 and 19. And the water brothers for that jewel, man. That was a nice little nugget. Psalm 73 and 19. And Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. Overall. How are they brought into desolation as in a moment? They are utterly consumed with terrors. So you finished, man. There's not a prayer in heaven or hell that can help you devils escape your judgment. This is the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 15 and verse 3. Wherefore now also, O Lord of heaven, send a good angel before us for fear and dread of unto them. And through the might of thine arm, let those be stricken with terror that come against thy holy people to blaspheme. And he ended thus. Now this happened back then, during the time of the Maccabees. I believe that was Nicanor. And man, this is going to happen again to you, you Edomites. You know, I'm going to read that again, verse 24. It says, and through the might of thine arm, let those be stricken with terror that come against thy holy people to blaspheme. And he ended thus. And that's a beautiful thing, man. Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. But for the elect, let's go to Psalms 91 and 5 real quick. And we'll end it with that. Psalms 91 and 5. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day. So the elect are going to be straight. They're not going to have to worry. So with that, I pray that you brothers have been edified. To the next time I say, Shalom.